Welcome back. This is KNL Sports Huddle. Cage Kiplinger, Logan Hubert. Episode number 44. We've got a good episode for you guys this week, recapping Week 18 of the NFL season, wrapping things up on that front, giving out our picks against the spread for the first round, wild card weekend for the NFL playoffs, and then in our campus corner, recapping a pretty interesting quarterfinal round in the college football playoff. Looking ahead to those semifinal matchups on Thursday and Friday. Logan, good to see you again. Take us away when you're ready.
Absolutely. So for our weekly Whiplash, we're just going to stick with the NFL. Who won the rights to likely Fernando Mendoza? The Las Vegas Raiders. They landed the number one pick after the Giants. Yeah, took care of the Cowboys once again. The Giants. Yeah, I mean it's debatable who's the better team in history. The Steelers with Mike Tomlin whenever his 500 record's in jeopardy, or the Giants in the last two weeks of the season when there's nothing on the line except turning your draft stock. I mean, both of those teams are just some of the best teams you'll ever see in the Super Bowl era. And once again, we saw that because they beat the Cowboys, so the Raiders could fool around and win their final game with no stress to get some little momentum going into the offseason and earn the number one pick. So in a season full of darkness for the Raiders, good for them. Headline number 2. As per usual, Black Monday took place after Week 18. Kind of did start early, started that Sunday. So, coaches who will be seeking new employment are Raheem Morris with the Atlanta Falcons. One very rare case you see a guy who ended the season well get fired. That doesn't happen too often, but nevertheless, Kevin Stefanski with the Browns. He'll be one of two. We'll name the other one later. Of who probably get another job offer pretty soon. Because no one really ever succeeds with the Browns. Pete Carroll, he's probably done. Just a one and out with the Raiders. Raiders have kind of had a history lately of letting coaches go early. And then Jonathan Gannon, he will not be partaking in another year with the Cardinals after a horrible end to the year. And then today, this Tuesday, we learned that John Harbaugh was let go by the Ravens. He was the second longest tenured head coach behind Mike Tomlin, a Super Bowl winning coach. He's had a team who's always been in contention, always been relevant, but it was kind of apparent that things were just off between him, Lamar, and the whole team. So it was probably the right time. Now people are like saying, "Oh, it was such a terrible mistake because some other teams don't get him." Well, yeah, but I mean, there's always the need for a change of scenery, and I feel like that field goal, the field goal in the Steelers-Ravens game, if it would have gone in, we would be talking about possibly Mike Tomlin right now. But instead, we're talking about John Harbaugh because he was on the losing end of that game.
Yeah, I think the Ravens organization is a well-built front office in that building, and they're doing something that the Steelers probably should be doing with Tomlin, but they're going to keep him around for as long as he can stand upright on the sideline. But yeah, according to Adam Schefter of ESPN, in the first 45 minutes after Harbaugh was fired this afternoon, his agent Brian Harlan said he received calls from 7 NFL teams expressing interest in Harbaugh. So
how many teams do we just name off? 4 fired their coach. Then you have the Giants and Titans who've already 6. Someone else, yeah.
And one guy who will be keeping his job is Zach Taylor of the Cincinnati Bengals for some odd reason. I would love John Harbaugh, but we're not going to get that opportunity.
Probably, I haven't heard anything. I guess Mike McDaniel's going to be still with the Dolphins. I guess he did enough to keep his job after the horrible start. I mean, they were more competitive, but still, I'm not really sure it's a good culture still down there.
Right. All right, let's move to our NFL Spotlight, where we recap Week 18 through the lens of our Game of the Week, a stat that told the story, and our Player Spotlight. Let's start with the Game of the Week. This was pretty easily the Sunday Night Football game. What a way to end the regular season. with a fight for the AFC North Division title and a spot in the playoffs between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens. Steelers come out on top 26-24. It was back and forth, full of twists and turns right until the final snap. And Steelers quarterback, 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers, engineered a late comeback, hitting Calvin Austin for a 26-yard touchdown with under a minute left to seize the lead. What else can you say about someone who's clutch and Aaron Rodgers? And on the flip side, Lamar Jackson battled through a tough night and kept Baltimore in striking range with 3 TDs. Ultimately, though, Ravens rookie kicker Tyler Loop, as you mentioned earlier, couldn't convert the 44-yard game winner as time expired and the Steelers punched their playoff ticket while rubbing salt in the wound of Baltimore Ravens fans. This one had 5 lead changes and 4 in the fourth quarter alone. You couldn't script it any better for what's become what was a really great rivalry between the two longest tenured coaches, Mike Tomlin and John Harbaugh. Sadly, that will come to rest, and we'll see what the trends happen with that game as far as the betting trends that we've just come so accustomed to with the underdogs in this matchup. But what was your biggest takeaways from this game?
Yeah, really 180 from typical Steelers Ravens games where it was the offenses that looked like they wanted to win, and neither defense or special teams really wanted to win that game. I mean, there were 3 touchdowns, I think 2 by the Ravens and 1 by the Steelers that were just because of busted coverages. I mean, it was incredible. I mean, Steelers was legit busted coverages where there was nobody covering him. The one the Ravens gave up at the end, the cornerback slipped, and there was no one to guard. I forgot who, Calvin Austin was he the one who scored that last one? There's no one to guard him. And then the Steelers took the lead, but then Boswell missed the extra point. People will forget that because it ended up not meaning anything. But
that could have been huge.
If Tyler Luke would have made that field goal, yes, we would be talking about an entirely different choke that took place in the special teams unit in that game. But then Lamar came marching down the field, 4th down, threw an absolute dot to Likely, who made an incredible catch. But I don't see this getting enough flack. They still had about 20 seconds left and a timeout and Derrick Henry in the backfield on a windy night and a rookie kicker. I don't know. I don't know if Harbaugh was having flashbacks of Henry fumbling the ball. I don't think that should have stopped him, but I think they should have got as much yards as they could on that next snap instead of just letting the time go all the way down to 2 seconds and kicking the field goal. I think it should have got as close as possible because Heinz Field historically, or I don't know, it's not Heinz Field anymore, but it's historically
it'll be Heinz Field to us always.
Yeah, it'll be Heinz Field to us. Just like the Lakers arena is always Staples. It'll always be Staples Center. But Heinz Field's always been a historic place, historically bad place to kick field goals. Just because the wind off the Ohio River area, it's just So I think it was a mistake. They should have got closer and given them a little better chance. Nevertheless, Steelers win the AFC North. That was, I don't know. I thought about asking you to do this. Want to do this as a segment? Give what our best and worst takes throughout the year were. I'll give my worst take later, but I think my best take was after week 1 saying the Steelers were going to be right at the very end to win the division. And sure enough, it came down to the final play of the regular season, and they won.
That was perfect. I mean, you had that right on the numbers there. Fun game to watch. Thought it might be a rough one to watch and be like a 7-3 win. But it's like you said, the offenses came to play and looked like they wanted to win. And I think it's just cool that we're going to get to see at least one more game from Aaron Rodgers before he probably ultimately calls it quits after this season. So,
Rodgers has always had bad luck just in postseason situations. And I thought when Boswell missed that kick, I was like, oh, here we go again. I mean, his special team's letting him down again. Back to the onside kick against Seattle back in 2014.
Yeah, and an interesting matchup that'll be set up with the Houston Texans, which we'll get to in just a few minutes. But let's move on to our stat that told the story. This one I'm going with the 3-1 record, and this is the Panthers record versus the Falcons and Bucks, which granted them an NFC South title despite losing to Tampa in Week 18 on Saturday. Just the worst way you can win a division, losing to the Bucks and then having to be in a three-way tie at 8-9 with the Falcons and the Bucks. Easily the worst team in the playoffs, and just a sad look for this division.
Worst way, but the most fitting way, if we're being honest. I mean, there was just no other way for this division to crown a winner. Yeah, Buccaneers looked like one of the best teams in the league the first few weeks, and then they imploded. And the Panthers sometimes have looked like a good team, and then sometimes have looked like an awful team. And yeah, but they just don't really scare anybody in the postseason. So yeah, I will never, because this happens every few years. There's like always a team with a losing record. It's always a different division too. Like it's not like, think of how good the NFC West is, but I remember like way back in the early 2010s, the Seahawks made it. No, that was the Beast Quake run, Beast Mode run. They were 7-9. They were division winners at 7-9. And so then like, oh, the Panthers shouldn't host a playoff game because their record's so bad. But I'm thinking, yeah, but they could have said the Seahawks should have hosted a playoff game. Then we would have never had Beastquake. So I think winning the division means something. It's just, you just don't. The thing is, you just don't have any respect in the playoffs, which makes it interesting because maybe the fifth seed doesn't take you seriously, which makes it an interesting game.
Yeah. And what were your thoughts on did you see the flea flicker play what the Panthers tried to do almost in the red zone?
Oh yeah, in the red zone.
Red
Yeah, that
zone.
was. Yeah, officiating was awful in that game, but the Panthers did also look like the Panthers at times, like stupid play calls like that. Just
Typical NFC South this season. For our player spotlight, this one was pretty easy, as Myles Garrett etched his name in the NFL record books. In their win against the Bengals, Garrett wasn't just another sack chaser. He was one chasing history, and he recorded his 23rd sack of the 2025 season, surpassing the legendary mark of 22 and a half, shared by Michael Strahan from 2001 and TJ Watt from 2021. So, I mean, what can you say about a guy who's the best edge rusher in the league right now? And that number, it's not just a big number, it's a loud number. For years, the gold standard was that 22 and a half. Garrett didn't just tie it, he cleared it. And this is where really the stat gets really fun. But everyone loves sacks, but sacks alone can lie a little. What really matters is how often a guy gets home when the opportunity exists. Think of it like this: if two players both score 30 points, but one took 20 shots, the other took 40, you know who the real menace is. Garrett season was the first guy. He averaged about one sack for every 20 opponent pass attempts. That's absurd. That's the offensive coordinator is changing the game plan at halftime territory. For comparison, Reggie White in his legendary 1987 season, about one sack every 25 passes. Jared Allen in 2011, roughly one every 26. So you can tell that this wasn't just your run of the mill stat padding. He really went for it this season. So what did you think about his year?
yeah, Shadir Sanders was incredible and led the Browns single-handedly to victory. No,
Still on
okay.
that.
Anyways, yeah, um, yeah, much deserved. I'm glad he got it, because, especially the way Pittsburgh played him last week, when it looked like they're clearly prioritizing not letting him get that sack over actually winning the football game. So I'm glad he got it, because yeah, he deserved it after the kind of season he had, and the Browns just don't normally have good things. So um, I'm glad to see, because these days, like, offenses and like just the stats are just nowhere near what they used to
Right.
be, and you're just like, are even despite the additional game, are any of these records ever going to be broken? Well, I'm glad we got to see one. Granted, it was on the defensive side, so the offense is still catching up to do to their predecessors, but yeah, Myles Garrett's just a freak of nature. You just rarely see a defensive end just. Your game plan revolves around him, like you said. I mean, you have to game plan for him. He can wreck a whole game. just from his sacks. He blocks kicks. I've seen him block kicks before, and yeah, he's just an incredible player, and no doubt a future first round ballot Hall of Fame.
Wasn't it when Micah Parsons got traded, the line for the Cowboys game like went 2 points and like away from the Cowboys, and you're like, is Micah Parsons worth 2 points? I'd say the one edge rusher that it would be worth that is Myles Garrett. And just think about
Yeah, absolutely.
modern NFL offenses; they're built to avoid sacks. You know, the quick throws, the RPOs, screens on third and long. Their quarterbacks are trained better to eat the ball or throw it away. You know, edge rushers are basically chasing ghosts. And it's like setting a home run record in an era where the fences are moved back, the bats got lighter, and the pitchers were able to spit on the ball again. So, uh, pretty cool stuff from a guy who's definitely made a name for himself as a Hall of Fame candidate, and probably will get there first ballot when this time comes. But let's move on to our signature segment, the spreadsheet. And obviously, this week's going to be a little bit different. It's wild card weekend. We've only got 6 games on the docket. But how'd you do in week 18, man?
Perfectly fitting 8-8. So 100. My final regular season record was 136, 134, and 2. So over 500. That was always the goal, and heck, I got it. So
Finished week 18 the same as you, 8-8. My dirty dog hit with the Colts on that 10.5. My lock did
yeah,
not with the Chicago Bears. And finished the year 141, 130, and 2 for 52% against the spread.
yeah. My dog hit. They didn't win, but the Panthers did technically cover against the Bucks, so I got that.
True.
I do not bet. I lost. So, yep, that was the Eagles Commanders, and that was absolutely the definition of a do not bet because you just didn't know what to expect from the Eagles backups versus the Commanders injuries. And then my lock barely hit. That came down right to I had the Broncos covering that 11.5 over the Chargers, and that came like right down to a final garbage time touchdown by Trey Lance that did not happen. So, yeah, I was sweating that.
All right. Well, it's time for the playoffs, and let's get to it. Let's look at a little overview coming into these playoffs. This year we have 3 QBs making their first playoff starts, 2 Super Bowl winning QBs, and 1 serious long shot with the biggest road spread in playoff history. QBs making their first playoff start versus QBs who have playoff experience are 20, 39, and 1 against the spread. That's 34%, and 20 and 40 straight up since 2002. Now let's talk dogs in the playoffs. Since 2017, they are 60, 38, 60 and 38 against the spread. That's 61.2% for a 18.7% return on investment. In the wild card round, those playoff underdogs are 27 and 15 ATS. That's 64% for a 25% return on investment. Best of any round in that span. So let's get to our first game. On Saturday, the 5th seed in the NFC, the Los Angeles Rams, going to Carolina, who gets home field advantage in this game because they won their division. So this one's at 3:30 Eastern on Fox. This line is sitting at minus 10.5 in favor of the Rams. Look, the Rams, they're massive road favorites, and they're the biggest road favorite in like 25 years. Back in week 14, obviously, the Panthers upset the Rams at home in Carolina as 10-point home underdogs, winning the game 31-28. Over the last decade, teams to lose to a non-divisional opponent recently and face them again in the playoffs are 6-3 straight up and 7-2 against the spread, covering the spread by 7.2 points per game. I'm going with the Rams here. it's a big spread, but I like the revenge spot here to get this win after the embarrassing loss that they got in this game a few weeks ago. It is a big number, but this is Bryce Young's first playoff start. He's going to have some jitters. The Rams simply are just a much better team, and according to various metrics, that the best might be the best team in the playoffs, despite not being the 1 seed. Who you got here?
Yeah, at 7-2 against the spread's a little misleading for this game because I would imagine they're usually not this big of a favorite in this situation because this was a big upset in the regular season. Like you said, I think I checked. I guess at closing, at kickoff, it got down to 9.5 when these two teams played, but it basically the same spread earlier in the year, and obviously the Panthers won and covered. I'm going to go opposite of you. I'm going to go Panthers plus 10.5. Too many points. Like you said, it's a lot of points, and I'm playing that, especially over 10. I like over the 10 number. Panthers have been a roller coaster all year. They've suffered 2 losses in a row. I could expect a bounce back here is not out of the question. Do I expect them to win? No, I don't. But the other interesting thing is looking back at some of these games, with a team with a 500 or losing record hosting a playoff game. Mentioned earlier the Beast Quake game. Seahawks were 7-9, and they beat the 11-5 Saints by double digits in that game. Actually, I believe. If you recall, the 8-8 Denver Broncos with Tim Tebow upset the Pittsburgh Steelers in the opening playoff game, and then I think the latest one of these types of games was the Buccaneers at the Commanders during the COVID year, and that was I think it was an 8-point game, so it was a 1-possession game. So I think this goes along. It's just too many points. Looking at the history of this type of matchup, and the revenge factor, that is something to consider because I'm sure the Rams want to destroy the Panthers after a humiliating loss earlier in the year, but too many points. I'm going to go Panthers plus 10.5. Any further comments on this one?
Yeah, so the Panthers are the 5th team in Super Bowl era to make the playoffs despite scoring 17 points or fewer 10 plus times this season. They joined the 05 Bears, who lost in the wild card round, 1994 Steelers, 1978 Oilers, and the 78 Eagles. So, rough company to be in, but at least they're in the playoffs. And this season Carolina is 8-0 against the spread after a straight up loss. So like you have that going for you. So I think they could pop off in this game. And the one thing about the Rams is that Stafford and McVay, they like to sometimes play with their food at times this season and across their time together with the Rams, and it does.
Well, heck, this past week they were losing to the Cardinals, I believe, in the second half.
Yeah. So it's a risky play, but I think they're a little pissed off that they didn't win the division, the NFC West, and going up against this team that they've lost to just a few weeks ago. So it's still probably pretty fresh in their minds. And then Bryce Young usually has a really bad game after having a decent to good start. And last week he went 24-35, 2 touchdowns. So I expect a bad backing that up with a bad start here. So that's what I'm going for here.
Okay, Amazon game Saturday night. I'm a little surprised the other networks didn't want this one because it's Bears
Prime Video for this one.
Packers Bears. So yes, I checked. I did my picks around midday today. It's still Packers as 1.5-point favorites. Okay. Wow. This is a tough one. Because given the Bears' playoff history, it's not very pretty. Recent playoff history. But I just something is off with the Packers right now since the Micah Parsons injury, and I think this. I don't want to say safe, but I just feel like I'm just going to give it to the home team. This is basically a pick 'em. I don't think either team has a real shot at winning the NFC, but if we're just looking at this game straight up, I'm going to go Bears here. Plus, they're coming off a bad loss at home to the Lions. So I'm going to go Bears plus 1.5. I just think vibes are bad with the Packers right now. They haven't won a game since they beat the Bears at Lambeau. Like, they've lost 4 in a row. Obviously, Jordan Love will play. He hasn't played in a couple of weeks, but their defense still worries me at this moment without Parsons, and they've just looked shaky. And yeah, Ben Johnson off of a loss. I feel like he's been pretty good this year, and especially a humiliating loss to a Lions team that have nothing to play for. I'm going to go Bears plus 1.5 here.
Yeah, this is the oldest rivalry in professional football. Be a fun one on Saturday night, and I'm gonna blindly fade Caleb in his first playoff start. I just feel like I have to. Bears have won, some of these matchups with Green Bay, but because of comebacks, whereas the Packers have largely dominated this series for a while now. And looking at just like betting lines and betting trends, the Bears look to be the public side this week versus the Packers. And this season, the Packers are 0-6 and 1 against the spread when they are the public side, but they're 6-3 against the spread when their opponent is getting the public side in this situation. And so I do like the Packers at minus 1.5. Interesting thing about all these games is that there's no indoor games. Everything is outdoors. It's going to be cold for some of these spots. But I don't think that's going to affect either team in this one because they're both used to it. So Ben Johnson, he joins Matt Nagy and Patty Driscoll on a list of head coaches to take Bears to the playoffs in their first full season as head coach. Both of those coaches lost their playoff debuts, both straight up and against the spread as favorites. He is an underdog in this spot, so that is kind of working against me there. But I don't know. I just think LaFleur and having Jordan Love back is going to be huge. He's had some playoff success in the past, so that's where I'm going here.
Yeah, I mean, if we were doing do not bets, this would be my pick because if the Packers would have like just won one of their last 4 games, I would go Green Bay heavy here because of the recent history of Green Bay and just the historic history of Green Bay over Chicago. It's just a 4-game losing streak. Their defense looks shaky. I just don't like it. I just don't like the way they've looked, and yeah, that's why I feel like the Bears are the play here, but I don't. Whoever wins this, like I said, I don't trust either team. Whoever they're playing in the next game, even if the Bears would have a home game if they win, but whoever they're facing, I would take that team in a heartbeat.
I also think LaFleur can devise something up to attack this Bears defense, which is very reliant on turnovers. And if they can hold on to the football, I think you can really attack this Bears defense in a lot of ways. Interesting enough, this Bears and Packers are the first teams to meet 3 times in December or later, including the playoffs. So
yeah, I talked about that a few weeks ago. How I just hate it's just so dumb scheduling division games 2 weeks apart because of injury factor.
But this is only the 3rd time they've faced each other in the playoffs. 2010 and then 1941 were the last 2 times. Green Bay won in 2010, and in 1941 Chicago blew the doors off the Packers.
2010 that was the NFC Championship game. I remember that game. Cutler got hurt. That 1941 game, hearing the Bears blew them out, that gives me good confidence in this game.
Probably Sid Luckman at quarterback.
That may have predated him. 41 was assuming. Well, I don't know if that was at the end of the year or beginning of the year. So we weren't even just getting into, or not even in World War II yet.
Yeah, long time ago. All right. Heading on to Sunday, this is the 6 seed Bills and the 3 seed Jaguars in the AFC. This is high noon Eastern on CBS. I think this is an incredible matchup. Really, really great quarterback. 2 guys who have to put on their capes to win this one. The game's really going to rest in the hands of Allen and Trevor Lawrence in this game. This line sitting at 1.5 in favor of Buffalo on the road. So Josh Allen is just 5-8 against the spread in his playoff career. He is 500 against the spread or worse in each round of the playoffs he's played in. Obviously, you have to attribute some of that to Patrick Mahomes in his playoff career. But overall, Buffalo has lost 8 consecutive playoff games outright on the road. Their last win came back in 1993. One more road loss would be the second longest road playoff losing streak in NFL history behind the Lions' current 12-game losing streak. And the thing about this one is that they're not in Buffalo. They're not able to use the weather, the cold up in Buffalo to take out an opponent like they've been able to in the past. They're in Jacksonville this week. So I can see this being a shootout because this Bills defense is terrible. And historically, Josh Allen has performed well in terms of wins and losses when facing good defenses. So I just think both offenses it'll be kind of a track meet in this one. But I'm going to go Jacksonville at plus 1.5 in this game. I just think they seem like they've got the gears turning, the well-oiled machine down there in Jacksonville with Liam Cohen at the helm. They finally figured out who they are and what they can do. And I still think that Jacoby Myers pickup for them is one of the best pickups midseason this year. And the Bills have just been kind of shaky at times, especially on the defensive side. I don't trust them.
Okay, several things to get through here. One, I said I was going to say my worst take of the year, and this is by far the worst take because it could have been more dead wrong. After their collapse against Houston, I said that was a potential season ender because teams just don't recover from that kind of loss. What have they done since? They have not lost a single game since then. I think that was that like week 9. So, I mean, however long their win streak is, yeah. So, yes, I will own that take. That was a bad take on my part. So credit to the Jaguars for bouncing back like ferociously from that because that was pretty incredible. So, if this game was a few weeks ago in the regular season, I would heavily favor Jacksonville here. This is a playoff game, so that does throw a little bit of a wrench into things. Okay, here's a stat you probably did not reference. I don't know if you've seen, but so Brad Allen will be officiating this game.
God.
And if Brad Allen sounds familiar, he was the referee in the Buccaneers-Panthers game this past week. That was let's just say the NFL really wanted that Falcons-Saints game to mean something because it was pretty obvious what the narrative was in that game, especially in the third quarter. But the Bills have won 6 straight games with Brad Allen as an official. They're 9-4 overall with him. Jaguars are 6-8 with Brad Allen as a referee. Plus, I don't necessarily agree with this, but I just feel like without Lamar, without Mahomes, without Burrow, if the NFL was gonna put a biasy, they're gonna meet ride Josh Allen, and I don't think they can live with the notion of none of those 4 quarterbacks in the divisional round. So I think the Jaguars are going to be on the unfortunate end of this. Which is a shame because this should be a fantastic game. But I'm going to go Bills -1.5 because of those reasons.
Yeah, the AFC is wide open, right? 3 of the what we believe are the top 4 quarterbacks in the league are not in the playoffs, and so it gives not only Josh Allen, a beeline to the Super Bowl, but like you said, the NFL could want this one to go the Buffalo Bills way. We'll see if that holds true in this game, and if that does end up happening, the Bills move on. If it continues to hold true until the Super Bowl, I just think this is such a great matchup. The best, I think, quarterback just mano a mano on this week's slate. And I mean, I've been pretty vocal about, you know, I haven't been very high on Trevor Lawrence this season, but I've definitely come around on him, especially later in the year. He seems like he wants it a little bit more now. I don't know. I think it's a good spot for them against a suspect defense, and at home, I think they can maybe ride a fan base, you know, hungry for a win that they've just never gotten.
Yeah, should be high 60s, low 70s, clear weather, so that's perfect. That's exactly what you want to see. You want to see for this game. I want to see perfect conditions. If it's not going to be in Buffalo, yeah, I just want it to be in perfect
Right,
conditions.
right.
So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that one. Might be my game I'm most looking forward to. But this next one's pretty good too. 49ers at the Eagles. This is the 6 versus the 3 seed. Eagles are 4.5 point favorites. Is that what you are
Yeah,
seeing?
I think the line just moved up a point from yesterday. It was 3.5 yesterday.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So, a lot going on here. Obviously, I had the 49ers in the Super Bowl at the beginning of the year. So, do I ride with that or do I go with what my eyes tell me that the 49ers defense is too hobbled and the Eagles defense is incredible? And we kind of just saw what how the 49ers looked against a team that had a good defense and a good, not great offense. They lost 13-3 to the Seahawks. So, why would this result be different? Okay, this is where I'm going to go here. I'm going to go 49ers plus 4.5. I like Philly to win. I do like Philly to win. I just think 4.5 is a little too much because, um, I mean, these are the last 3 NFC champions going at it in the wild card round. Interesting fact there. Looking at the official, it is Alan Eck. Eagles are 3-0 with him as the head referee, and 8-1 in games that he's officiated. He is also from Pennsylvania, if anyone is curious. And the 49ers are 1-2 with him as head official. So, but like I said, I don't want to jump off the 49ers because I don't want to, because that's why I picked to win the Super Bowl or make it to the Super Bowl at the beginning of the year. So I'm going to go 49ers to cover, but I like the Eagles to win mostly because of the officiating and because their defense has been consistently great all year. Their offense with Patullo at offensive coordinator and the run game just not looking the same and Hurts sometimes throwing for 0 passing yards and halves. I mean, it's looked shaky, but their defense has been great all year. They're going to have home field advantage. 49ers are just too banged up on the defensive end.
Yeah, I'm taking the Eagles. Even at this line, I don't like it as much at the 4.5, but that is like right at the limit of where I would take this number on the Eagles side. You've said it. The Niners defense is in pretty bad shape. They are getting Trent Williams back on their O line, but I mean, Saleh has exhausted all schemes and options that he can do with this Niners defense. And the Eagles are hoping to get Lane Johnson back for this game, so that's going to be huge. And that maybe because of that, that's why the number went up a point. Because I mean, in terms of the Eagles' game plan, he's huge for their run game and everything to do with their offense. But the real question for them is can the Eagles' offense, which seems to periodically stall out, be able to push the ball downfield against this defense? And the Seahawks were able to, despite what the score may tell you in that Seahawks Niners game, they were able to run the ball up the gut against this San Francisco defense last week. And I should think that Saquon will be able to do something similar this week. Um, you know, it it's a tough game to look. This was my toughest pick for this week, and we've heard a stigma about the Eagles blowing leads in the past, but under Nick Sirianni, Philly is 32-5 straight up, and 25-12 against the spread as a home favorite when they get a lead of 6 points or more at any point. When that opponent is above 500 straight up on the season, Philly is 19-0 straight up, 16-3 against the spread. So I like that you're picking the Eagles to win. I'm double dipping and taking them on this spread, but Brock Purdy has made 51 career starts in the NFL. He has been an underdog just 4 times. The Niners are 0-4 straight up and against the spread in those games, failing to cover the spread by 12.3 points per game. He just doesn't play well against good defenses, which he will be going up against with the Eagles this week. And coming off an all-out brawl against Seattle, real in the trenches type of game, it's not a great matchup for them. And towards the end of that game, it just looks like McCaffrey was gassed. He doesn't look like the same player he was maybe earlier this year. So it looks like the workload has gotten to him. But yeah, I'm going with the Eagles here. I just think it's a good spot for them.
Yeah, Eagles fans are calling for Sirianni's head this past week for resting starters.
Oh,
when they could have, because if they would have played, with the Bears loss, they could have got the 2 seed. But I don't think that matters because I know the Bears beat the Eagles at Philadelphia early this year, but I think I don't trust the Bears in the playoffs. I think Philly could easily go into Chicago and win that game. So I don't think it matters, and I think it's going to be an advantage here because, like you said, the Niners. It was on Saturday, but still, it was an absolute dogfight. Eagles are going to be better rested, but I can't. I'm just not going. I can't completely abandon my NFC champion preseason pick, so I will take them to cover.
All right, the Sunday night game, Chargers and Patriots. This is the 7 and the 2 seed in the AFC. This will be on, of course, NBC and Peacock. If you're a Pats fan, this is a favorable matchup. You're going against a QB with a cast on his left arm. Both ends of their O-line banged up, and a defense that is pretty suspect. This line sitting at plus 3.5. And this line's at 3.5 favoring New England. It's really been the Chargers defense that has let Justin Herbert down. They've allowed 63 total points, 30 plus in both games that they've played in the 2 playoff starts that Herbert has been in.
But last year was also a 4 interception game.
You're right. His worst game ever. But this is a game that Herbert and the Chargers should win. He's been great as a dog this season, and at this number with the hook, I do like it. 3.5. Chargers are 4-0 straight up as underdogs this season. And even though that Chargers defense has been suspect, they are number 1 against deep balls, and Drake May loves the deep ball. I just think this is another quarterback making his first playoff start. A team that hasn't had a lot of tough outs, tough competition throughout their schedule. They've had a pretty easy, favorable schedule throughout the season, meaning the New England Patriots. And I just like this spot for Justin Herbert and the Chargers as dogs, at least at this number, to at least cover the spread.
Oh, so I don't trust. There's no reason to trust either of these quarterbacks in this spot. Justin, if man, Herbert has been pretty bad in postseason play. Plus, like you said, he's hobbled. And Drake May, his first playoff start, and he just hasn't been good against good teams. I mean, he's great against tomato cans, but he hasn't really been spectacular against good teams. So there's no reason to trust either quarterback. So I'm going to go with the home team. I'm going to go Patriots minus 3.5. It's long. I know their Chargers are used to long travel, but it's a legit opposite corner of the country. I like the Patriots running game at the moment. I like what they're doing with Stevenson and Henderson. It's taking some stress off Drake May where he doesn't have to do everything. And yeah, I mean, historically, this last century, what have the Patriots and Chargers done in the postseason? Patriots, for the most part, have looked good. I know they had Tom Brady at quarterback, but still. And then the Chargers have always found a way to charger, and so that's why I'm gonna lean Patriots here. But I make fun of Herbert. Like I buy into that if man because he does get way too many passes. I feel um like but if man, hypothetical man, whatever you want to call him, because of it's never his fault. It's his teammates' fault. But I mean, if you actually and I've that sometimes that narratives ran way too much. But there have been times this year where I'm like, yeah, I mean, his defense has failed him. And mostly his offensive line just being absolutely ravaged by injuries. I mean, they're all like 4 of his 5 offensive linemen are ranked second to last or dead last, in, like the BFF rankings, I think. So it's just been awful. He knows he has to get rid of the ball quick, but still he likes some time in the pocket. And at New England, I just don't think he's going to get enough time. So I'm going to go Patriots -3.5.
All right. Monday Night Football. This is my favorite bet of the week. If I had a lock, this would be it. We have the 5th seed Texans going to Pittsburgh to take on the 4 seed Steelers in the AFC. 7:15 Eastern on ESPN and ABC. We get that last playoff hurrah for Aaron Rodgers. It's only fitting the Steelers will play their playoff game on a Monday. Under Mike Tomlin, Pittsburgh is 23-5 straight up and 16-12 against the spread on Monday Night Football, including 12-1 straight up and 7-6 against the spread when that game is at home in Pittsburgh. To further that stat, Aaron Rodgers has played at home on Monday Night Football 14 times in his career. His teams are 12-2 straight up, 9-5 against the spread in those games. Aaron Rodgers is the lone QB in the wild card round to win a Super Bowl ring and be listed as an underdog this week. Since 2003, Super Bowl winning QBs are 64, 25, and 2 against the spread as an underdog in the playoffs. Those QBs are 26-8 as a dog before winning the ring and 38, 17, and 2 against the spread after the ring. It's a great spot. The Voodoo Steelers get in after their win against the Ravens. This is an easy pick for me. Steelers as a home dog of over a field goal. This one's sitting at 3.5 in favor of Houston coming to Pittsburgh. They might be one of the best defenses in the league, allowing just 17.4 points per game entering the playoffs. But they have their issues on offense. They've had goal line issues all season, especially in the run game. They had just 4 rushing touchdowns inside the 5-yard line, which is the fewest among playoff teams by four rushing touchdowns. They're on a 9-game win streak, the Texans are, and you'd think that would be great momentum for them coming into the playoffs. But teams on a 9-game straight up win streak going into the playoffs are 6-19 against the spread since 2022 in the wild card round. Give me the Steelers, favorite bet of the week. Public hates the Steelers even after wins. They just think it's voodoo, Mike Tomlin stuff. It's about time people start getting on this train.
We, my friend, have disagreed on every game. Throw out all that statistics you just ratted off, and the Texans are just way better than the Steelers. The Texans are, as of this moment, my favorite to win the AFC. I really like this team. Their defense, no one can score on this defense consistently. And you're absolutely right with the Texans offense. But I don't know how anyone could be inspired by the Steelers defense on Sunday night because they tried to give that game away repeatedly. Stroud, if the deep ball is there, Stroud is able to hit that. We saw that against the Chargers in the first quarter in that Chargers game 2 weeks ago where he hit 2 long deep balls. And if the Steelers play defense like they did against the Ravens, that will be there. And I wanted the Steelers to win that Sunday night game because I wanted Rodgers in the playoffs. I just he's not as obviously not as mobile as he used to be, and I just think this Texans defense will be able to. I mean, their edge guys, their front seven. It's just insane watching them play. I like I like Houston here at -3.5. Plus, I think the Steelers win last week was just way too emotional, and I see a prime letdown spot here.
Yeah, I mean they're going to be on extended rest here. I guess both teams will be. Defense is easily the best unit that we'll see on the field, but I do like that the Steelers will have DK Metcalf.
That is true. If DK wasn't playing, yes, I mean it would be Texans lock because they won't make the same mistakes the Ravens defense made.
Yeah, yeah. The one thing to note here, though, that the Steelers haven't won or covered a playoff game since 2016-17. That's a 6-game straight up and against the spread playoff losing streak for Pittsburgh, their longest in franchise history. And I would just love it if Aaron Rodgers would be the guy to break that streak. The more Aaron Rodgers we get in this playoff, the more drama. And I think that's great for the league. So I'm going with the Steelers here +3.5. That wraps up our spreadsheet segment. Really excited for this wild card round. I'm going to be watching every one of these games. It should be a fun playoff slate this first week. Let's move on to our campus corner. We've got some time here to recap. Pretty interesting quarterfinal round, as may not be the best thing for teams to get that extra week off. Indiana has become the only playoff team in this 12-team format these two seasons to win with that extra week off with the bye week. So first off, just give me your thoughts on the week that transpired with the games. Miami, Ohio State, unfortunately.
I did not see that one coming.
Bias.
I don't think many people saw that one coming at all, unless you were just an absolute firm believer in the playoff bye curse going into that, which I semi was, but I was like, yeah, but I just
I
don't trust
wasn't
Miami.
expecting it, but once it happened, I wasn't surprised because
I mean, Miami was just the more physical team. They dominated the line of scrimmage. I mean, turnovers killed Ohio State. I did not see that coming. I thought they like it'd be like the Michigan after the Michigan loss last year. They play with more fire.
Well, that's what I thought.
But Miami was the one who was playing with fire. That's what I saw. You want anything else to say on that one? Or
I mean,
you just want to forget it and move on to next year.
Yeah, we can move on, but like it was a young QB, just I mean, he's got all the weapons he needs around him. So it was unfortunate that our offense was stalling again, like it was in that Indiana game in the Big Ten championship. It's not like our defense was great, but it wasn't terrible either. It was just Miami was able to milk a lot of clock. We didn't get a ton of possessions in that second half, and they're playing typical Mario Cristobal football there in Miami. So yeah, let's move on.
Texas Tech, Oregon. Story of this game: 4 turnovers for Texas Tech, and Oregon dominated time of possession, 38 minutes to 22 minutes. Just get everything out of the way. Oregon's defense was the real winner of this game. I mean, because Texas Tech's defense showed up. I mean, if we're being honest, like Texas Tech's defense did everything they could to win this game because Oregon's offense looked pretty lifeless. The only reasons they scored was they were given short fields and they made their field goals. But yeah, Texas Tech's. Oh my, that was that. I mean, yeah, Oregon's defense was incredible, but man, that was a putrid offensive performance. Really not much else to say about that one. When you're shut out, final score was 23-0. So, that big egg on the scoreboard just kind of tells the whole story there.
I missed this game. Glad I did. Didn't look like it was a fun one to watch. I also didn't watch this next one, Indiana and Alabama, and wow, has the balance of power shifted in college football when Indiana uh, absolutely destroys the gold standard in college football, the Alabama Crimson Tide. um, I'll let you have the floor for this one.
I mean, point to a single weakness on this IU team. I mean,
Nothing.
Mendoza 192 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. IU had 215 rushing yards in this game. Their running backs were fast, breaking tackles. Their offensive line was doing a fantastic job creating holes. Obviously, I've said all year the receivers they've taken these receivers and turned them into pros. I don't know how they did that, but and their defense only allowed 193 total yards. The only time Alabama threatened to score was when they put their backup in, which is kind of predictable. Like, okay, new guy, but then new guy don't know how to didn't scout for this guy, but he didn't even score. Like he drove down and they shut him out, turnover on down. So yeah, I mean, there's no weakness on this IU team. Once again, I still think their front. I still think their defense is Mendoza deserves so much credit, but I still think he's receiving too much credit because I don't think he'd be able to do what he's doing without this historic defense, this dominating defense they have that's giving him short field and all kinds of time of possession to score. I mean, I think this is. I mean, people might murder me for saying this because you're not allowed to say this because 2019 LSU was the greatest team of all time. I mean, I mean, this IU team will clearly give them a game. I could see them winning because they don't have a single weakness. I mean, where is the weakness on this
I
team?
would
And
I would love to see a 4-team playoff between this year's Indiana, last year's Ohio State, 2024 Michigan, the Jim Harbaugh winning team, and then this 2017 LSU or 2019 LSU.
19
That would
LSU.
be an incredible 4-team playoff. Um,
Yeah. I mean, it's the greatest coaching job you've ever seen because I mean they'll have injuries to like Omar Cooper missed a couple games. Remember they were missing 2 defensive linemen. Did anyone notice? No, because they just bring guys off the bench who can cut through offensive linemen. Like no 5 stars. These are all 3-star guys. So it's clearly like it's the best. It's the greatest coaching job I've ever seen. They never make mistakes. Like their defense has been called for so few penalties this year. No, rarely turn it over. It's amazing to watch. That's all there is to say.
and then we had the Sugar Bowl, which made up for the previous 3 games,
Yeah,
dismantling with this absolute classic between Ole Miss and Georgia, where somehow Ole Miss fought in a shootout against another gold standard in the SEC and got the win despite their off the field drama with the Lane Kiffin not having him being on the sidelines anymore with them. Just an incredible game. Went back and forth. There's so much that happened in this game. We just would not have time to get into. um,
the summary is close game early in the first half. Georgia got out to a 9-point lead, and you're thinking, okay, that's probably over. But then Ole Miss came back, and then they had a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter. But then Georgia said, we're not giving up yet. And then they went down and tied it with 59 seconds left. They scored a touchdown, and they kicked a field goal the next possession, or maybe it was the other way around. I can't remember. To tie it at 34. And then it only took Ole Miss 50 seconds to drive down the field and kick the game-winning, I think, 47-yard field goal. So, yeah, incredible game. Trinidad Chambliss was great
incredible.
for Ole Miss.
Incredible.
Fun to watch. 362 yards and 2 touchdowns. Harrison Wallace, the receiver, had 156 receiving yards, 9 catches. Yes, we were due for a good game after the 3 before that were kind of boring, and man, we got it.
One of the game of the year, maybe, in college football. Comes pretty close. We've had a lot of duds throughout this season, but now we've got the semifinals, 4 teams left, and an interesting thing about all 4 is that every coach left has ties to the Nick Saban coaching tree. All 4 programs with a good amount of excitement. for each team within their fan base, because it's been a minute for Miami since their dominant days in college football. Ole Miss only has one national championship, and it was a while ago, and it was shared. And Indiana, Oregon both have the goose egg in that department. So four very hungry programs, makes for a great Final Four in this playoff. The first game, Miami and Ole Miss. This is a classic power versus speed. I mean, these were two teams that were tested with close games. Ohio State for Miami, and then Georgia for LSU. Ole Miss can score on anyone, and Miami has shown they can shut down anyone with that devastating front four. So the question here is, who is more locked in? Miami, coming off back-to-back wins against Texas A&M and Ohio State, playing classic Mario Cristobal football and continuing this momentum of suffocating defense, or Ole Miss coming off the huge emotional win over the SEC juggernaut, despite all the off-the-field drama with the Lane Kiffin stuff. Despite the fact that Ole Miss won, they made a lot of clock management mistakes in that game against Georgia, and they were mostly covered up by the play of Trinidad Chambliss. It would honestly be hilarious if Lane Kiffin walked away from an eventual national championship team. Man, I don't know. I think
Go ahead.
Ole Miss might just be too explosive for this Miami team.
I don't think the SEC is very good, and we just saw Ole Miss win an incredible game, but who was that against? Another SEC team. So, I mean, if Miami's win over Ohio State was kind of fluky looking, I would probably lean Ole Miss. But I mean, like I said, Miami just like physically dominated Ohio State. I mean, that's like the sign of a team who wants to take care of business. This game is out west. It's the Fiesta Bowl, so I believe it's in Arizona. Correct. Okay. I like Miami here. I think the interim coach and all that. I think they may have used up all of their luck. I wouldn't say luck. All of maybe luck is the right word. I don't know. They used up all their magic in the Georgia game, and I just think Miami's the second hottest team in college football, right? The second best looking team in college football right now. And I like Miami here. Okay, Peach Bowl. This game will be in Atlanta, Georgia. It is actually a rematch of a game that took place earlier in the year. It'll be the 5th seed Oregon Ducks against the number 1 seed Indiana Hoosiers. I will say, I know we don't do college bets, but both these games are 3.5 point spreads. Miami is a 3.5 point favorite over Ole Miss, and IU is a 3.5 point favorite over Oregon. So IU went into Eugene earlier in the year and won by 10. It was once Mendoza didn't have his best game, but when they needed him, he delivered. It once again, everyone's talking about this. Once again, it came down to IU's defense just manhandling Oregon's offense, because I mean Oregon had a pick 6 in this game. So really IU's defense only allowed 13 points to the Ducks, and I remember that one touchdown was just a random busted coverage. So it wasn't like a drive down the field like dominating IU's defense. So I mean, if we're including college bets, this is my lock of the week. To me, it's clearly Indiana. I don't buy you can't. It's hard to beat a team twice.
Right.
I don't buy that narrative. Plus, let's look at Oregon. Let's look at Oregon did against Texas Tech. Their defense was great. Their offense did not look great. When they absolutely needed it, they did deliver, but it was not great against Texas Tech's defense. Texas Tech's defense is great. I think IU has the best defense in college football. So why would I expect Oregon's offense to figure it out? I don't. And then IU's offense is, I can't even think of a number, times better than Texas Tech's offense. So Oregon's defense might get a few stops here and there, more stops than Alabama, but IU's offense will find ways to score. And I see Indiana running away with this one. They're going to have the home crowd advantage as well. Won't even be close. So I really like Indiana.
Yeah, the way Indiana plays, it's not the flashiest thing in college football, but there's just a sense of inevitability when you watch this team play. number one turnover margin in America, suffocating defense, great on third downs and in the red zone offensively, and they take advantage of teams' self-inflicted wounds. So yeah, I love that Dan Lanning is coming in as an underdog. This makes the matchup even better. Could make this a close game, but I'm in agreement with you. I would take Indiana, making a pretty wide gap in this game. As a
I'd take it. I mean,
prediction.
if this was 7.5, I would take Indiana.
Yeah.
I might put money on it right now, for being honest.
Should be fun. We get those Thursday and Friday before the NFL playoff game, so it's a full long weekend of football, almost like it's Thanksgiving again. All right, that wraps up the campus corner. For my final word, what to watch for. This is coming quick, so when we upload this, this will be Wednesday morning upload. Wednesday night in college basketball, we've got Alabama, the 13th ranked Alabama, coming right here into Nashville against the number 11 and undefeated Vanderbilt Commodores. Should be a great matchup against two teams that I think either one could take the SEC. So that's my what to watch for this week.
Okay, my weekly segment. It's usually a rant. This isn't going to be a rant. This is just going to be an interesting stat. So, the year 1933, what happened that year? FDR came into office for his first term as president. The great Willie Nelson was born, and he's still kicking, so that's great. And the National Football League began keeping stats for interceptions. So what does that mean? Well, since 1933, every team that's played a full season has recorded at least two actually interceptions in the season until 2025 to 26. The New York Jets recorded 0 interceptions throughout the entire regular season.
Way to go.
Yeah. There's only been one team, and it was actually recently, 2018 49ers. There's only one team who's only had 2. The 49ers in 2018. So no team's only just had 1. So, I mean, it's just an absolutely unbelievable stat because, I mean, yes, we all know the Jets are bad and terrible, but still, think of like a QB overthrows somebody and it's just like the safety playing the backfield, like an outfielder in baseball who just gets the interception where it really wasn't the defense who did anything. It was just a bad quarterback play. Well, the Jets never even benefited from that. There was never a tipped pass that they caught. There was just nothing. They had 0 interceptions all year. They only had 4 forced fumbles, so that was 29th in the NFL, and they allowed 29 points per game, which was 30th. So just bad defense all around. But yeah, the cherry on top was the 0 interceptions. And if you think, there would have been a little more sense of urgency at the end. Well, no, because I'm going to quickly read the quarterback stats they faced the last 2 weeks where you think, okay, we really need this interception. Last week, Drake May, 19 for 21, 256 yards, 5 touchdown passes, 157.9 passer rating. Well, you may say, oh, Logan, Drake May is an MVP candidate. I was like, okay, that's fair. So week 18, they went against Mitch Trubisky. How did he look? 22 for 29, 259 yards, 4 touchdown passes, 142.1 passer rating. I don't know. I mean, Pete Carroll probably deserved to be fired as a 1 and out. I don't know how Aaron Glenn's not a 1 and out after that.
Man.
That's all I got to say. 0 interceptions in a full NFL season. That's my final word. What else is there to say?
And a defensive head coach at that. Give Darrelle Revis the pads back. See what he can do. That's the show. Good job, Logan. This has been the K&L Sports Huddle. For Logan Hubert, I'm Cage Kiplinger. May your bets hit, your team not choke, and your stress levels stay manageable. And we'll huddle up again next week.